Please be advised the following material is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. It started like any other Tuesday inside those unforgiving prison walls. Gray morning light filtered through the steel bars as inmates shuffled half asleep toward the cafeteria. The sound of clanking chains, grumbling voices, and the buzz of tired correctional officers filled the air. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, until Diddy walked in. Even stripped of fame and fortune, there was still an aura around him, a silence that trailed his steps. Inmates whispered, guards stiffened, but Diddy kept his head low and his pace slow. That morning, he looked different, heavier breaths, eyes darker than usual. Ever since the stabbing weeks ago, guards had been shadowing him closely, and rumors had only grown louder. Yet nothing could prepare anyone for what would unfold just minutes later. As he stepped into the food line, he reached for a tray, standard issue beige plastic. But if someone had been paying close attention, they might have caught it. A kitchen worker gave the faintest nod, and then a tray, slightly warmer, slightly too clean, slipped into the stack. Diddy picked it up unknowingly and made his way to his usual table. He sat alone. The cafeteria buzzed around him, filled with jokes, curses, the occasional laugh. Bland meatloaf, overcooked rice, watery vegetables, just another meal. His first bite was slow. Second one, a bit faster, then a sip of juice. 3 minutes later, his hand trembled. He wiped his mouth, looked around. 4 minutes in, he touched his chest. 5 minutes, beads of sweat ran down the side of his face. His eyes narrowed. Something was wrong. And then, as a nearby inmate cracked a joke and laughter rippled through the room, Diddy stood. One step, then another. Knees buckled. The tray crashed to the ground. He collapsed. The room froze. For a moment, no one moved. Then chaos erupted. Guards lunged forward. Inmates backed off. Someone shouted, "Yo, he's down." Within seconds, CPR started. A defibrillator was rushed in. A medic barked orders. He's not responding. Pulse is shallow. Breathing dropping fast. One guard called for a stretcher while another radioed in a level 1 emergency. Security cameras swiveled slowly above, capturing every angle. The tray lay on the floor, undisturbed. The juice cup rolled slightly, a thin stream dripping to the ground. Something about it was off, too clean, too intentional. And even as Diddy's body twitched once more, then went still, no one could have guessed the full weight of what had just happened. Inmates were shoved into the yard. The cafeteria was cleared. Tables overturned in the panic. A medic inserted an IV as another unzipped the emergency kit. But none of them knew yet, this wasn't a panic attack. It wasn't stress. It was a hit. Precise, silent, planned. Within the hour, the entire prison went into lockdown. Kitchen services halted. Trays, utensils, everything bagged and tagged. Inmates locked down. No rec time, no phones, no visits. The whispers began. Some said it was a gang hit. Revenge for something from the outside. Others claimed it was connected to the stabbing incident. Retaliation dressed up in silence. But a few older inmates, the ones who'd seen things like this before, they said this wasn't about prison beef. It was deeper. Someone wanted Diddy silenced. Permanently. When the tray was taken into evidence, the guards treated it like a bomb. Gloved up, masked up, they photographed it from every angle. Nothing about it looked special, except how perfectly clean it was. No grime, no fingerprints. Untouched meatloaf. But under the right light, the mashed potatoes had a strange tint. Off-white, almost gray. The utensils were standard, but too polished. The head of internal security pulled surveillance again. Frame by frame, minute by minute. They caught it. A kitchen worker, masked, gloved, had entered the cafeteria from the back, an entrance not used in months. He placed the tray, gave a slight nod to a guard, and disappeared. When they ran the badge records, nothing came up. No match. No time in log. No employment record. He didn't exist. Meanwhile, Diddy was wheeled out on a stretcher, unresponsive. 4 armed guards flanked him like a high-value target. For the first time since his fall from fame, he looked human. Vulnerable. And scared. Only he wasn't conscious enough to know what was coming next. Forensic teams began testing the food samples. Mashed potatoes, meatloaf, juice, all scraped and sent to the lab. The results came back faster than expected. A compound most had never heard of. A ricin derivative. Homemade. Not enough to kill instantly, just enough to shut down breathing and trigger cardiac failure within 10 minutes. It was stealthy, untraceable by routine screenings. The news didn't stay sealed for long. A scared guard leaked it. By afternoon, headlines spread like wildfire. Diddy poisoned behind bars. Secret toxin confirmed. Social media exploded. Hashtags trended globally. News vans swarmed the gates. Protesters gathered. Free Diddy, protect black voices, expose the system. But inside, it wasn't the noise outside that scared the guards. It was the silence within. Because whoever planted that tray was still inside, and they were watching. Later that night, the guard who'd been on shift during the poisoning vanished. Didn't show up for roll call. His locker was empty. His badge pinged once. 3:12 a.m. at the loading dock hallway. And then it disappeared. Just like that. The warden was livid. Someone had made him look weak. Cameras were rolled back, staff questioned, dogs brought in. The kitchens were torn apart, freezers emptied, every ingredient scanned and logged. And in the far corner, behind a water heater, they found it. A second tray. Unused. Same design. Barcode scrubbed off. Taped underneath. A note with numbers, a time, and a cell block code. The cafeteria. The exact time of the poisoning. Someone had rehearsed this. In the admin wing, internal affairs worked round the clock. Tapes, badge logs, radio traffic. They pieced together the reality. This was no random act. Someone knew the guard shifts, the blind spots, even how to slip a tray into rotation. This wasn't an outsider. It was someone inside. Someone trusted. Tier 5 blackout was activated. Highest alert. No one in. No one out. Phones cut. Vending machines disabled. Inmates got quiet. Because the message was loud and clear. If they could get to Diddy, they could get to anyone. In cell block C, whispers ran through the vents. Some inmates claimed the tray wasn't handed off. It was already on the table when Diddy sat down. Others said a new kitchen guy had been talking to a guard before lunch. And then one lifer, known for never talking, muttered over and over, "They don't want him alive." In the infirmary, Diddy stirred. Eyes barely open. Oxygen tubes in his nose. The nurse moved to press the call button. But before she could, he whispered 2 words. They knew. Then slipped back into unconsciousness. Inside the prison infirmary, time crawled. Machines beeped steadily. Oxygen hissed through tubes. Shah Diddy commas lay motionless, a shell of the man who once filled arenas with sound. Guards stood outside his room, but not the usual uniforms. These were federal officers, transferred in overnight, their presence quiet but heavy. No chatter. No names. Their silence was louder than any alarm. They weren't there to guard him. They were there to make sure no one finished the job. At 3:41 a.m., a motion sensor triggered in the hallway just outside the infirmary. A storage closet, supposed to be locked for the night, showed activity. Within minutes, security reviewed the footage. Nothing at first. Then, slowed frame by frame, something moved. A blur. Low, hunched. Covered in what looked like a cleaning tarp. A janitor, maybe. But all janitors were accounted for. And that hallway wasn't scheduled for cleaning until morning. For 30 minutes, tension stretched across the building like a tightrope. Guards swept every corridor. Nothing. But when they returned to the infirmary, one of the guards stationed at Diddy's door was gone. Just gone. No noise. No struggle. His radio still clipped to a nearby chair. The other officer swore he turned his back for a second, and then his partner wasn't there anymore. The prison exploded into full alert. Internal Affairs launched a facility-wide manhunt. Cells were tossed. Vents checked. Tunnels inspected. Count sheets triple verified. But the missing guard, Officer B. Morales, was nowhere. Former Marine. Clean record. 7 years on the job. The kind of guy who doesn't just vanish. And that's when they found the second tray. Not in the kitchen. Not in a hallway. In the trash bin of the infirmary. Clean. Unused. And marked. Different from the first one, but unmistakable. A forensic team ran tests immediately. This time, no ricin. But the plastic had been treated, soaked in a banned compound known to cause hallucinations, seizures, and violent paranoia upon skin contact. It wasn't designed to kill. It was designed to break the mind, to make a man suffer, slowly. Someone had tried again. The warden didn't hesitate. He called the governor directly. "We've got a plant," he admitted. "This is bigger than my staff." Within the hour, federal oversight was activated. Full sweep authorization. Temporary command transferred from the prison administration to federal intelligence. And just like that, the poisoning attempt on Diddy became something else entirely, an operation. Organized. Intentional. With layers that went deeper than anyone had anticipated. Across the prison, the lockdown tightened. Kitchen staff were pulled out, interrogated, photographed. Walk-in freezers emptied. Ingredients logged and scanned. Every kitchen worker, whether inmate or contractor, faced dogs, strip searches, polygraph prep. One by one, the walls of routine crumbled. And then they found it. Tucked behind a storage unit near the boiler room, a second, unused tray. Same design. Same barcode. Scrubbed off. But this one had something taped underneath. A slip of paper, handwritten. It contained 4 things. A date, a time, a location, and a number. The cafeteria. The time of Diddy's collapse. The code for his cell block. And one chilling implication. Someone had planned this in advance. Not just hours, days, maybe weeks. The feds reviewed surveillance footage again. Deeper this time. They flagged an anomaly. 3 days before the incident, a file had been accessed on the internal prison network. No name. No author. Just a string of code and a short, grainy video. It showed the food tray swap, filmed from an internal angle never used in public access. And then they saw him. Morales. The missing officer. In full uniform. Slipping the poisoned tray into the stack. Looking over both shoulders. Calm. Precise. He wasn't an outsider, he was part of the system. Which meant someone on the inside wasn't just helping the attack, they were running it. When the forensic team analyzed Morales's badge logs, they discovered he'd accessed the inmate database 3 times in the last 7 days. And not just Diddy's record. 3 other inmates as well. 1. A former record label executive, locked up for financial crimes. Another, a former guard turned inmate, caught stealing evidence. And the third, a mystery. Inmate listed only as D. Eastwood. No photo. No background. Just a red flag warning. Security redacted. Do not pursue. That kind of label doesn't come from prison admin. It comes from above. The agents froze. Whoever this, D. Eastwood, was, someone powerful didn't want him on any radar. And that meant the poisoning of Diddy might not have been the endgame. He might not have even been the target, he might have been the message. That same night, the warden's terminal pinged. A silent alarm triggered by the keyword, Eastwood. Minutes later, a black SUV entered the prison's outer gates. No license plate. No markings. 4 men in dark suits stepped out. They didn't speak to anyone. They didn't show id. They didn't need to. Everyone just moved out of their way. They took control of the admin floor. Surveillance logs stopped updating. Cameras froze. Keycards stopped registering. The prison, for those few hours, went dark, digitally and physically. And what happened next was never entered into any official log. In the infirmary, Diddy stirred. For the second time, he blinked awake. This time, longer. The pain still sharp in his chest, but his mind more alert. Something wasn't right. The room was too quiet. Too clean. 2 new guards stood at his bedside. Tactical gear. No names. Mirrored visors. He asked, "Where am I?" One replied coldly, "You're secure. Don't move." But Diddy had been in the game too long to mistake silence for safety. This wasn't protection. It was containment. He scanned the room. No blinking camera lights. No humming electronics. That meant surveillance was hidden. They were watching. Waiting. And then the door opened. Not with a buzz. Not with a keycode. It just opened. A man walked in. Tall. Clean-shaven. Black gloves. No name tag. Not a medic. Not a guard. He said nothing. He stared. Diddy stared back, confused. Something about this man didn't fit, didn't belong. The man leaned in. "Do you know who Eastwood is?" Diddy's throat was dry. "Should I?" "He was in your block," the man said. "Cell 9D. Right across from you." Diddy's heart skipped. Cell 9D had always been empty. Or had it? The man continued. "He was the test run. You were the headline." And then he reached into his coat. Before anything else could happen, an explosion rocked the East Wing. The building shook. Sirens blared. Lights flashed red. Security scrambled. The 2 guards at Diddy's door dropped, tranquilizers to the neck. The man vanished, silent, fast, like smoke in wind. The prison entered full system lockdown. Emergency power kicked in. Feds were locked out of their own servers. And amidst the chaos, one file folder opened on the main control screen. Unsealed automatically. It was video footage. Cell 9D, dated 2 weeks earlier. The cell, supposedly empty, wasn't empty at all. A figure sat on the bed. Broad shoulders. Shaved head. Staring directly into the camera. 1 minute in, he raised a sign, black marker on cardboard. It read, "This isn't about Diddy." In the command room, everyone went silent. And then, from the radio static, a warped voice whispered, "He was never supposed to live, but now the world's watching." Outside the prison walls, the storm had already broken. News helicopters hovered overhead. Vans packed with reporters camped at the gates. Hashtags like #WhoisEastwood and #ProtectDiddy trended globally. Conspiracy theories exploded online. Some claimed Diddy was already dead and replaced by a double. Others believed the poisoning was part of a deeper industry cover-up. But inside those walls, silence spread like poison. Federal agents had seized full control of the administrative wing. No corrections staff were allowed entry. 2 guards were now missing without a trace. One surveillance technician was found unconscious in the server room, pulse weak, nose bleeding. Another was rambling incoherently about a man in black who erased him, like he was never there. The footage of that mysterious figure, gone, wiped clean. But one frame survived. Blurry, corrupted, but unmistakable. A gloved hand slipping a second food tray under a table inside the infirmary. That tray was never recovered, and that's when the feds made a decision. They had to enter cell 9D. The one that, according to records, had always been empty. They used a blowtorch to bypass the security seal. The door hissed open slowly. What they found inside didn't make sense. No bed. No inmate. No personal belongings. Just one word scratched into the concrete wall using what looked like a shard of metal. Reset. The word echoed in every agent's mind. Was this a warning? A code? A signal that everything they knew, about the prison, the poisoning, even Diddy, was being rewritten? Across the compound, Diddy was strapped into a stretcher. He was being airlifted. Eyes barely open. Vitals still unstable. The chopper blades roared overhead. One paramedic leaned close, checking his oxygen levels. Diddy, in a whisper so faint it nearly disappeared in the noise, said, "Tell them, I'm not the villain." And with that, he was gone, vanished into the sky. Later that evening, the FBI issued a statement. Diddy remains in stable condition. No evidence of external tampering. Investigation ongoing. But no one believed it. Leaked audio surfaced hours later. Grainy. Static-filled. Guards yelling. Inmates screaming. And beneath it all, a single voice muttering, "Eastwood wasn't a man, he was a message." Within days, chaos tightened its grip. 3 prison officials resigned. 2 vanished. No one could locate Officer Morales. Surveillance files continued to disappear, as if being remotely wiped. And Diddy? He hadn't been seen since the hospital transfer. No press photos. No court updates. No confirmation of return to custody. Rumors swirled. Some said he'd been moved into witness protection. Others claimed he struck a deal with intelligence. But the darkest theory? That everything, the poisoning, the surveillance blackout, the mysterious trays, hadn't been an assassination attempt. They were a method of erasure. An operation not to kill him, but to delete him. The prison went quiet, but in the shadows, fragments of the story began surfacing. A journalist named Rebecca Lane obtained footage of the tray swap from a backup satellite feed. She published it. It went viral. Within hours, her website was taken offline. Her social accounts locked. She hasn't been seen since. A whistleblower inside the prison leaked a document. Project Reset, Phase 1 complete. Nobody knew what that meant, but they understood what followed. Cell 9D was sealed permanently. No inmate was ever assigned to it again. The hallway around it was closed for maintenance indefinitely. And every record tied to D. Eastwood, every log, every backup, every mention, was scrubbed from the system. One prison librarian claimed to have seen his intake file months earlier. Height. Weight. No photo. His job had been janitorial. Nothing unusual, except one red note at the bottom of the page. To be erased upon trigger event. No one had ever seen that designation before. It wasn't a disciplinary status, it was something else. Meanwhile, outside, the public demanded answers. Rallies sparked up in major cities. "Where is Diddy?" Signs flooded the streets. Celebrities posted vague messages. They tried to erase him. "This is bigger than us, watch what you eat." But no one could find him. And the media began to shift focus, moving on, as they always do. That's when a new piece of footage surfaced. A 13-second clip posted anonymously to an encrypted server. The video was shaky. Dark. It showed a hallway, unfamiliar, sterile white. A man strapped to a hospital bed being wheeled down it. Behind him, a tall figure in a black suit. Gloved. Silent. The man on the stretcher didn't look conscious. But some said the profile, the jawline, the hair, matched Diddy's. Others weren't sure. But the final frame, grainy as it was, showed a steel door swinging open. Above it, a sign. Site 9. Nobody knew what that meant. And then, silence again. Until someone inside the prison found it. Weeks later. Tucked behind a loose tile in Diddy's old cell. A note. Handwritten on torn bedsheet fabric. Faded. Almost unreadable. But the message was clear. This wasn't survival. It was the beginning.